You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. And, you know, each week we're dropping something new and really hot. So I got a surprise that I'm gonna present today. We're gonna throw the podcast listeners a little curveball today, but it's a good curveball. But I've got some friends in the studio. I've got Jerome and I've got Aaron. And so before we get into our conversation and explain what the curveball is, I got a couple of black ice breakers for y'all.
Yeah.
Are y'all ready?
All right.
And I keep a lot of them because some of y'all think you might understand this. You might know what's going on. Jerome, I'm going to ask you this. This might be before Aaron's time. Monsters or the Addams Family?
The Addams Family.
I didn't like. Oh, really? I like the Monsters. Why'd you like the Addams Family? You like Morticia? Did you like the way he kissed on her arm and stuff? Took you back. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought she was cute.
She thought she was cute. Okay, I got you.
And Cousin Ed.
Cousin Ed was good. Okay, all right. If you put Cousin Ed on the Monsters, that would have been really good. Okay, let me see again. Let me look down here on my list because I got to make sure. Do you know what a face bowl is?
I don't.
Did y'all ever use that term? Was that just my family?
That's the sink.
That's the sink.
Yeah. Oh, that's the sink. Yes.
That's
the sink.
Eli, did you guys call this? Do white Americans call the sink the face bowl?
I haven't heard that before.
Yes.
Like, go on there, boy, and wash up in that face bowl.
Yep. That's right.
Because they used to have the little bowls that they poured the water in.
That's right.
And so even when it was a real built-in sink, the old black folks would call it a face bowl. Aaron, I can't believe you pulled that out.
He sure did.
You're like, wait a minute, ain't that the sink? Do you know adults who still use the term baby sister? Like, you can be 50s and 60s and introduce people. This my baby sister right here. You know people still use that terminology.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have a younger sister, Jerome? Yeah, your sisters are younger.
Yeah.
You call her, who's the youngest? You call her your baby sister when you introduce her?
Sarita is my baby sister.
Yeah, we don't say our youngest sister like this.
Right,
My baby, and it's sister, right? It's not even sister. It's my baby sister. Sister. Do you know what it means to split the pole when you're walking down the street?
Bad luck.
It's bad luck. Okay, so Eli, do you know what it means to not split the pole, or what it means to split the pole?
I don't know. Is it like walking on different sides of the pole?
Yep. It is. But what does it mean if you do it, Jerome?
It's bad luck. You got to come back around.
You got to come back. You got to come back around.
Right.
I know one time, Tyler is white. Is one of my assistants. He works with us, and I taught him, about the dangers of splitting the pole. And so one day we were having, I was joking with him about something like he had made me mad. And so I on purpose, I walked on the other side of the pole. He said, "Don't you do that to me! Don't you do that to me!" The people in the street didn't know what was going on because he thought that somehow by just walking on the other side of the pole, I was saying like strike him from the record. He said, "Don't you do that to me! Don't you do that!" Can y'all swim?
I win.
I win. What does that mean? You what's called mud crawling?
If I get in the water, I got to get to the other side and grab onto something.
Gotcha. Aaron, can you swim?
Absolutely not.
Black people got to start swimming. That's why we don't go on cruises because we can't swim. Did your mother, grandmother wear a duster?
Yep.
Wait, Eli, do you know what a duster is?
I don't think so. No.
You got me on that one.
You got Jerome. What's a duster?
It's like a gown or a dress.
It's made out of cotton, right?
Yep, with flowers on it. All hers had flowers.
You know what it is? It's a pair of boxers that's a dress. I mean, like it's that same kind of cotton material.
Right.
But grandmothers and stuff would get up and wear that. It'd be like a house coat or a gown.
That's what it is.
But they'd be cooking like you put that duster on, you'd be smelling bacon frying, grits be bubbling. But they would have that as probably like some curlers on too. Mm-hmm. But everybody see my duster? You never heard that, Aaron? So that's age and black. Let me see. I haven't asked this one. Okay, I got a couple of more. As a child, did you all ever know a family member who established credit in the name of a baby? Or when you were young, did somebody ever establish credit in your name?
No.
That
Absolutely.
You did?
Absolutely.
Who established credit in your name?
Probably my mom.
That was before the internet. You couldn't Google people back then.
Right.
Nor could you CCAP them. But people be getting phones and stuff like.
The phone bill, though.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this name is John Smith. You know?
Right. You're a baby with a phone bill.
That's how black folks get credit early. 9 months. Oh, man. Okay, I asked somebody this. I don't know if they got it. When you were growing up, do you remember black people using the term, do you remember what it was called when it was raining while the sun was shining?
The devil beating his wife.
I never heard that before.
No, we're not making fun of domestic violence.
No.
But that's what old folks said. We laughing at the saying. Eli, when you're growing up, did white people refer to it when it was like when it's when it's raining and then the sun comes out and it's raining and sun shining at the same time? Black folks will look up and say, "Ooh, the devil is beating his wife."
No, I never heard that. I think they probably talked about how beautiful it was.
They talked about how beautiful it was. No, we went to running. Then if it started lightning, you got to cover up mirrors.
You can't be on the phone.
You can't be on the phone. Turn the TV
from
up.
the windows.
Get away from the windows. Sit in the middle of the floor. Because the devil is beating his wife. Now, I don't know who the devil's married to. So I don't know. The church is the bride of Christ. I don't know. Is the world the devil?
It must be.
Right. I don't know. Devil's Bride. I think it's the South Side of Chicago. I think that's the devil. I think that's the Devil's Bride. Oh my goodness. Okay, all right, y'all. That's funny. Y'all are really funny. Were either of you called tender-headed when you were growing up?
I was.
Were you
I
tender-headed?
definitely was tender-headed. Yeah.
You were tender-headed?
Yeah,
I brought that up a couple weeks ago. Eli never heard about that. He was like, I think Eli said, does it mean like you're it's hard to change your mind or you're real determined on something? Like, no, it means you can't get no cornrows. It means they can't get that comb through it.
Right.
And the folks who were the most tender-headed wanted the straightening combs and stuff. So I think the perms were created for tender-headed people.
I'm in agreement with that.
Who want to know what it felt like to get a comb through that stuff. Yeah. You ever have perm, S-curl?
I had all the above, but I think the one thing that I did not like was the hot comb.
I never had the hot comb because that.
No, me either.
Actually, I have a picture. A picture currently, a school picture with that hot comb, and I'm sure it was some scabs around my ears.
Could you get burned with it? Can we put that up on the podcast when it comes up?
No, we can't.
Did you look like Sharpton?
A little bit.
Really?
Just his son.
Just his son. Because we used to laugh at Sharpton like in the 80s, but I bumped into him in New York. I thought about getting me a straightening comb. I mean, it was looking kind of tight. I was like, wait, Sharpton's older than me, and he making that perm look right. So I was thinking about going and get me a box of Fabulaxer. Y'all ain't heard Fabulaxer in a while.
Fabulaxer.
Oh my goodness. All right, so listen. These gentlemen are my friends. We've been knowing each other for years. We're co-workers. We do a lot of good stuff in the community, but we're just trying to keep it really, really light today. We were sitting here in the studio getting ready to record another segment, and they said, "You know what? How come no one ever interviews you? We got questions we want to ask you. We black too. This is like black like me. So ain't we a brother? Ain't we brothers? And so I'm gonna do something I don't do a whole lot of. I'm just gonna turn the microphone over to you guys.
Yeah.
So all right. So it's black like y'all today.
Black like us. Then.
Black like us. Sing it, Aaron. Sing a little
right,
bit.
then.
Sing a little bit of it.
I don't want to hit that high note.
You don't
like
hit that night this morning because people, fans might start coming in.
Yeah. Especially if you want to keep your ratings up.
That's right. People walking by might start throwing their socks and shoes up on the stage and stuff like that. All right, brothers, my life is in your hands.
All right.
So y'all wanted? Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna let Mr. Dillard start us off because I'm sure he has a lot of questions for you.
I know you do a lot of
help me, Jesus.
Daring things, daredevil stuff, jumping out of planes, going down with the sharks, and
yes.
Yes. What's your phobic? I mean, do you have a phobic?
Yeah. Y'all know what I'm scared of. Why you gonna make me say it on the air?
What is that?
You gotta say it.
Some of them I can't say. One of them is I'm scared of clowns. Man, if a clown ran up in here, I'd go through that window over there. I'm telling you, I would jump out of a plane without even thought. But if a clown ran up in here, man, I would call my mama, my grandmama,
You're not lying.
Jesus, Mary, Joseph.
You look down.
I looked down. I met Ronald McDonald on First and Des Plaines out in Maywood when I was a kid. I said, "Mama, please take me to see Ronald McDonald." She took me. That white powder on his face, he was in white face, so I knew that wasn't right. And then, but them big red shoes, I couldn't look up. It must have been like a size. I mean, it was like looking at Shaq's shoe. I looked down, and he gave me a cheeseburger. I just held my hand up and got it. I'm still traumatized from seeing Ronald.
Wow.
McDonald.
That's heavy.
Wow.
Clowns. Let me see if there's anything else that really, one of them. Yeah, that's the big one. Another one I'll tell you all off the air. I can't say because it's not politically correct. But I'm just scares me really bad. But I'm not afraid of heights. I'm not real claustrophobic, so it's a lot of I'm not afraid of speaking in front of an audience. I used to be, but clowns.
You don't want to clown around.
And like when you go to the amusement parks, like those people in costumes, like Bugs Bunny and them, man, they can run me all over Great America or Six Flags. If they just said, "There he is," and started, I bet you they wouldn't catch me. So thanks for reminding me of my phobias. I'm sweating and stuff.
Yeah. So Doc Rev, how can I phrase this?
Take your time.
If you weren't preaching today, what do you think you'd be doing?
Let me see. No. Jerome knows I love gangster movies. I love watching things about the if I was born like 7 years ago, I would have been part of the mob. And if I was a little lighter. Let me see. I would I used to want to be a pilot when I was a kid, but I don't think that's a real trajectory I would have taken. I have a strong entrepreneurial side of me. I think I would have created some kind of business. I would love to do stand-up comedy, but I'm too afraid that people would say, "Ooh, you a pastor? You ain't supposed to say that." And so I'm actually thinking about creating like a segment on Black Like Me, that a segment that's called "This Ain't Sunday," and then just say some stuff like that's the segment, and just say some stuff that you can't really say in the pulpit or say with a collar on. But I would say maybe a stand-up. I before I really had a focus on ministry, I was thinking about two things: business and things like social work or counseling. So I probably would have created some kind of business, or maybe been some kind of counselor, or I might have created my own counseling practice. But I think I would have involved entrepreneurship and some type of helping profession.
Okay. I think your first answer was the real one.
You think that was the real answer? I think the real
It's definitely in it.
Y'all wrong.
So I have some burning questions for you.
I bet you do.
So
don't forget your annual review is coming up soon.
That's true. So I got to be cautious. This is my boss. So.
It's been so nice working with you, Aaron.
Let me see. What's a burning question I have for you? Oh, I got one.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Here's something.
Oh, Lord.
So you got a chance to see me vote for the first time in my life, and that was huge.
Aaron, I think we're having some technical difficulty. Eli saying we have to go to station for identification.
We
Why does he keep doing?
When are you going to run for mayor?
Mayor of what?
Mayor of Fitchburg or Madison.
Well, Fitchburg's mayor, that's not a full-time position.
Okay.
And so I'm
So you want to be full-time?
If I'm going to be mayor, I want to be paid.
Okay, talk to me.
But I don't live in the city of Madison, so I can't. That's a foregone conclusion. So I can neither confirm nor deny. No, Aaron. No, I
only asked you that question because you have such a big rapport with the community at large, and you work with so many people. But people trust you in a lot of different areas. So I just thought, what would it be like, and how would that look for you to be the mayor of?
Wow, that's interesting. Well, the real major answer to that is because I really don't want to be.
Gotcha.
Now, I used to have political aspirations when I was younger. If you had caught me at 20, 22, that's actually what I wanted to do. I think another piece of it is, you ever worked in a job or something where you're cool with the coworkers and you become the supervisor, then the same people that used to laugh and talk with you all of a sudden saying, we need a longer break, how come we can't use the refrigerator upstairs, and why don't we have a microwave? When you go to places, people help you get there sometimes. They forget that you have been one of them, and they want things out of you that they didn't demand out of people before you. And that's true. The other thing is, I said years ago, I wanted to really change the face of what ministry looked like and what pastors did. And so I'm beholden to my community, and beholden to my faith community, and beholden to my nonprofit. But the fact that I don't have to make decisions in city county buildings, and you got to sway folks who might either be applying for your same job, or all these political factions. Leadership is hard enough. I think it takes a very skill to know how to bring those folks together from different sides of the aisle.
Gotcha.
How to be very political, and sometimes I want to be able to say something that's harsh and not worry about the political ramifications, or just tell somebody to sit down somewhere. Or I'm about to ask the Lord to do something Old Testament to you. Sometimes I won't say stuff like that. You can't do that. You can't do that at the mayor. I like hanging out with guys and having fun, and I wouldn't want to be on every place I go. Mayor is walking into, mayor is doing this, and
every move is
right. Well, mayor, mayor is grilling in someone's backyard or having a cigar. Those things, you just have people always in your business.
Yeah, so you don't have a life.
You don't have a life.
Privacy.
And mayors and political officials do make really good changes. But their task is not to really change hearts. They really oversee municipalities, departments, budgets, systems. But as a social justice advocate, as a coach, as an author, as a thought leader, as a motivator, as a preacher, I'm really trying to get at the heart, because if I can get to your heart and there's transformation, you're going to be changed when I don't see you. Folks can vote for your legislation and still hate you. But if your heart is changed, you take that no matter where you go. And so I really like working at a heart level and not necessarily at a legislative level, although that's a part of making our society work. I enjoy being in some of the rooms with political folks, helping them to think through difficult issues. I think I bring a lot of wisdom to the table. So I like the idea of influence.
Definitely.
But I think I told you one time I had a friend in middle school who said, I want to play, but I don't want to be captain. And so I want to play, but I don't want to be mayor.
Right.
Great question.
Let me ask
or governor. So don't even go there.
Let me ask you this then. Who
Not today.
Who are 3 major influences in your life who has helped you get to where you are right now?
Oh man, that's a great question. One, I'd say it's way more than 3 people. Of course,
obviously,
my mother. When I think about a black woman, single, 30, going through a divorce, high school dropout from freshman year, moving from Chicago to Wisconsin, which might as well have been the other side of the world, to go to college, to give her children an exposure to something else.
Wow. And
to have her children grow up and become real thought leaders, not only here in this community, but nationally. I think Mom saw that. And so that bold step to do that and push her kids. She went to college, sent us to college, paid for us to go to college, dropped out, came back to college with us. We would sit on the floor and do homework together. Well, we were all at the University of Wisconsin. So I would say my mother. I think another person, it would be a sort of a conglomeration of a couple of individuals. But my Aunt Bessie, my grandmother, Pastor Ford, and my Uncle Jerry too. He was married to my Aunt Bessie. They helped me to have a sense, or to own a sense of calling when I was 14. They told me I was going to be a preacher, and I thought that was only what you did on Sunday. I don't even think they had the theological understanding that could go outside the church. That as a pastoral person, I could work to hold banks accountable, the university accountable, systems accountable, healthcare accountable, Department of Corrections accountable, or to the best of my ability, on behalf of other people. But I feel that they were seeing that sense of leadership, not necessarily my call to preach, which is a part of what the work is, but the part to protect, to motivate, to shepherd. They called that out when I was 14 or 15, and they called it out early before I destroyed my sense of worth.
Gotcha.
And I would think thirdly, and I say this in all honesty, because I can think about teachers who spoke things that's really important to me. The folks who've been around Fountain of Life, it used to be Union Tabernacle back in the day, 30, 40, 50 of us who sat around who validated me as a leader. Much of what I do comes because of that, because what they saw me doing among a very nominal group of people, a very small group of people, nominal in number and in attendance. What they saw me doing there, they're able to project a trajectory. They said, if you could do this here, you could do this abroad. And so that group of folks supported me in creating Nehemiah, supported me in Justified Anger, supported me in writing books, supported me in traveling around the world, supported my outside work. Those folks said, we believe in you, we believe in you, we believe in you, we got you. And they showed up on Wednesday nights and on Friday nights and on Sundays, and they donated money, and they broke through their own issues and overcame their own struggles and faced their own demons. That motley group of folks believed in me when the rest of the community. So, I mean, it's surprising. Once you've done a couple of notable things, I'm on people's radars. I get calls from complete strangers. Can we meet? Can we have coffee? I read you. I saw you. I heard you on National Public Radio. They'll reach out to me, but nobody thrills my heart the way the folks who've been believing in me in the last 25, 30 years and sticking with me and rolling with me is really, as a group, those folks from Union Tabernacle / Fountain of Life, those are the people who have influenced my life.
Wow, what discernment, Pastor Ford and Jerry and Bessie.
They called it out. My grandmother, Mother Evans, they called it out on me. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what does it mean I'm going to preach?
Right.
And they were team preachers. I mean, I saw people preaching, but they hadn't heard me because I didn't have public speaking skills. My voice would quiver. I'm talking about like in our living room church with 8 people. So there was nothing about what I was doing that said that boy's got the gift of the gab, because I did not. I didn't have that at all. I think they saw a leadership gift in me. Yeah. And again, back in those days when the church was 8 people, 2 or 3 of them were adults. The rest were kids, and they were kids I invited.
Right.
So I didn't even realize that was even an act of leadership.
Wow.
But even back then, I was bringing my friends in.
Doc, I know that there's been so many spinoffs. Churches started from individuals who you personally ministered to, who you brought up through your ministry. But I question why come you don't take that title of bishop, because I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench.
Wow, y'all trying to let me see. I
mean, you're still active in so many of those spinoffs.
Sure.
So many of the churches in California.
and a resume out of this world. So
y'all asking some good questions. I would. Wow, y'all kind of stumped me a little bit. I would say that I probably would own the spiritual authority. As I look back, like, I don't always look at life that way. Like you call them spinoffs or ministries we've influenced. It's certainly true. I don't think that I'm aware of that I actually process that on a day-to-day basis. And I think so much of it has been relational and not positional, because I did not have a position as a bishop to say, therefore, I'm going to help establish this. It came out of relationship like what we have.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's appropriate. I don't think I necessarily need that particular title. Some of my friends listen to this are going to probably get mad at me. I think it's a title that's sometimes overused. But I love the fact that you can point to the work and say, why aren't you called this?
Yeah.
Then saying, you're called this, where's the work? So I appreciate the way that you all have presented it. But on the on the real, there's a part of that spiritual authority that I've got to begin to honor, because I feel that part of my work in this season now is spending time with those folks, who do this. I mean, there are 2 churches that have been inspired by our work here. One's called Fountain of Life Long Beach,
right.
Fountain of Life Covenant Church. There's another one that's led by Pastor Rebecca Boland, who's a college
right.
student at our church. It's called Fountain of Life Center City. So it's like downtown Los Angeles. Pastor Rebecca, forgive me if I butcher the name. I know it is Fountain of Life, but I believe it is Center City. And she wants to minister in the real hard part of downtown Los Angeles. She's been planning it for months and just launched it. Tremendous preacher, leader. She's one of my spiritual daughters. But then there are other pastors who've asked me to be overseers or mentors to them, even pastors inside our own denomination who've asked me questions about how do you preach each Sunday, then you create a nonprofit that does housing for men coming out of prison, but you lead a social justice movement that's challenging systemic racist issues or barriers so that people can function better. And now you got $1 million grant where you're addressing social determinants of health issues that are killing Black folks. And so I really am wanting to coach and mentor around those topics. How do you take preaching outside the 4 walls? How do you theologically help your congregation understand that we've never been called to just circle the wagons and protect the inside, but to go and tell, go and share, go and make disciples, and what that looks like. Because some folks, you can't talk to them about your faith until you talk to them about their meals that they're not having, or the clothes they don't have, or their children who are sick or in trouble. And so I love the work. I haven't thought much about the title. That's a really great question. But I'm being approached more and more because I've just turned 55 recently. In my head, I still think like I'm the young person in the room. For so long, I've been the youngest guy in the room. And I realize I'm not the kid anymore. I'm that old man or older man that's got wisdom. And I've got to make the shift in my head that I'm in a phase of life where I don't need to be walking around talking about mentors, being mentored. I need to find out who I'm supposed to be mentoring. So I'm giving a whole lot of thought to leadership development, transformational leadership development. We're doing a lot of it through Justified Anger. We're talking about doing some of it even through some of our Nehemiah work and Man Up work. But I feel that even my focus on my doctoral work was transformational leadership. I need to own that space. So you brothers are calling me out on some good stuff. I need to really own that space. Regardless of what the title is, the role is something I've got to really own, because I think some of those leaders are not inside churches. And I think sometimes pastors are seen as folks who are overseeing church folks. I think that there are people who want to do what's called marketplace ministry, where they want to create businesses where they're creating jobs for people, but they're shepherding and caring for the folks who work for them, or caring for the folks who live in their transitional housing or reentry housing. And so I want to be able to treat someone like Pastor Rebecca the same as I would treat Aaron if he's, let's say if you were living inside one of our Nehemiah homes, just being sort of a, what do they call RAs and on campus, or Jerome, some of the entrepreneurial work that you're doing. I'd want to be able to sit down with folks who are doing this work inside of churches, outside of churches, and mentor and shape them all together. But you don't necessarily think of that title of bishop outside churches. So I got to find a way to create a new title that allows me to bridge that and bring those same people to the table, because I think you all could learn from Pastor Rebecca, but there's so much she can learn from you all in what you're doing in the community, particularly when you think about where her church is located.
That's huge.
Wow, I'm glad
I am too.
Pulled that out of you, because I think you just spoke a vision there.
Dang, that's true.
So enter to worship, exit to serve.
That's right.
You got to get outside those four walls.
That's what we see every Sunday. Enter to worship, exit to serve. And I think it's such a unique model to do that outside the walls, that you have to have people coaching folks on how to do it, because people told me not to do this. There are folks who are not part of our church because they said we need to be doing evangelism and discipleship and not social services.
Wow.
And 26 years later, and look at the niche we built. I mean, we're doing something that's becoming a national model for how you deal with microaggressions in a predominantly white community for Black Americans, African Americans, so that we're not dying of the same diseases that our white folks, that our white peers have at a faster rate. And so when I look at the things that we're addressing, it's more holistic. But I got very little encouragement locally or from my own circles, because in doing this, because I didn't know pastors or ministers who were doing inside and outside work, until I got connected to some other circles, people like Dr. John Perkins and, folks like that who are modeling that, mentor of mine, Ray Bakke, and, others. When I saw some of the great work they were doing, it really touched my heart.
Wow. Speaking of Dr. Perkins.
Yes.
How's Dr. Perkins doing?
He is, he's always strong and brilliant and feisty. CCDA, the Christian Community Development Association, gave him a real nice recognition in Chicago a few weeks ago. I wasn't able to attend. I had a conflict, but that was really great to do, because he's really seen as the godfather of community development work, like what I'm doing. I'm good friends with his grandson. We call him Big John. Hey, shout out Big John, and so we're good friends. And so I kind of find out about how Dr. Perkins is doing. Through him, but years ago, he really started modeling how do you bring urban churches and suburban church partners together. How do you build Black leadership? How do you rebuild your cities? And just gave me a whole nother paradigm about how you go about ministry. So I didn't make this up. I watched people like him doing it, and man, it still impacts me. I spent a week with him a couple years ago. We took a group of boys down to Mississippi for a rites of passage program. And, that man's busy. He's on the board of one of the automakers down who's the automaker? Well, anyway, I was down in Mississippi, but he prayed with each of those young boys and just kind of gave them a word of promise over each of them. It took like 3 hours.
Wow.
What do you want to be when you grow up, young man? And was talk to them. Those men would never say that they had never been prayed over, just through our day off. But to have him kind of pour that blessing, and so shoot, I was like, Dr. Perkins, I need to come down to Mississippi once or twice a year so you can pray some of them words up over me.
Wow.
So, I need some mentoring. And he said, yeah, young man, I'll do that. I like being around. That's the one thing I do like about older people. They still call me young man.
Yeah, you're trying to hold on.
Yeah, but I'm
what
ready.
You call a midlife crisis.
Right, I'm ready to move into that leadership role because, yeah, it's just hard when that switch goes up to realize, wait, I'm the one that's supposed to be providing some cover and some, protection and some mentoring. You don't just wake up and just think I'm supposed to do this now. So it takes you a while to realize. I was at a meeting. Dr. Crawford Loritz, he's a well-known pastor. Son Brian Loritz is a friend of mine. What's up, Dr. Crawford? What's up, Dr. Brian? But he got a bunch of pastors together, and so we could spend like 3 or 4 days. We were down somewhere in Alpharetta, Georgia, and we were checking in. These are all there's a group of black men, and we're just sort of checking in and everything. And while I was doing my check-in, I just broke and started crying. Y'all know, like I don't just like break out in a group of people I don't know and just start crying. And but I realized, and this was maybe about 10 years ago, that there was a shift happening in me because I'm about 15 years younger than Dr. Crawford Loritz, who was leading this time, and I was 15 years older than a lot of the pastors who were there getting mentoring.
Wow.
So there's a 30-year gap between them. I'm right smack dab in the middle. I don't think anybody else was in my age group. But I had been in ministry maybe 5 years less than Dr. Loritz.
Wow.
Because he talked about his call in the ministry like in the 70s. I got called like in 79. So I realized, like even now I'm 55, I was licensed to preach in 1980. And so that was, who's good in math here? I mean, that was, what's that, 38 years ago?
37.
I was 16.
Wow.
And almost 40 years. And
you that old?
So yeah, I'm that seasoned. So I'm gonna show you some of that old man crank. Keep saying it again. Say it again. Your daddy old. Say it again. And remember what movie was that? They said that your daddy old. Your daddy old. But man, at that point, Jerome, I realized I'm down here at a mentoring group because I can run with the young guys. They thought I was their age. And but because I can kick to the back of the crowd and be the class clown. I think the older people didn't know I had sage wisdom because I don't lead with my years in ministry, how long I've been preaching, how many books I've read, how many conferences I've spoken at, how many continents I've been on, what degree I have. And so I can lay really, really low and folks not really notice me. And I felt called out at that meeting because everybody was finding this sense of mentoring. And I realized that what Dr. Loritz was doing for that group of men is really what I was supposed to be doing. Not for that group, but for another group. And so I think that was pre-Man Up. I think that caused me to begin to think about, well, who do I – Man Up is a group that Jerome, we started to really help provide support to men who are coming out of – African-American men was a real focus from a faith-based perspective. Because other groups were happening too, like your VBB program, things were going on, but we created something for black men with a faith-based perspective. Like how do we help men regain their sense of identity after having it stripped away and called a number for so many years?
Yeah.
When I was down there in Georgia, I realized I'm down here looking for covering and shade, and I need to be offering it. And that was a real
Wow.
eye-opening thing for me. And I think I've been on a leadership trajectory ever since then.
Yeah. I remember you coming back from Georgia. I do remember that. And the young men who you met with for years, a couple of years, if not longer, who were in our church. And as we watched them get married, and I remember them sleeping on the floor in a vacant apartment that you made arrangements for them to get into.
Good. You got a good memory. Yeah.
And
I'm gonna have them on the show, so we're gonna do a reunion
Yep.
on that group. But you're right. For 5 years, I met with a group of young men who were trying to figure out life. They were single. Some of them were dads. They're trying to figure out how to work, get their education, become dads. I think almost everyone in that group, I think I officiated almost every wedding.
Yep.
We used to meet on Thursday mornings at 6 a.m.
Wow.
For 5 years.
For 5 years.
We're going to meet for 13 weeks to read some book, some guy's book, Every Man's Struggle or something like that. We finished that book in December and said, well, what should we do? I said, well, let's just keep meeting until we tire. And we met for 5 years.
And the success that came out of that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. They're leaders right here in this community.
Wow.
Doctoral students,
leaders.
law enforcement.
Wow.
They're known nationally and internationally. Recording artists.
Yep.
So I want to have them in. Laleta just reminded me to have them in. So I said we're going to be having, and I also want to have a group that we're a part of, our Man Up group. I want to do a reunion with us as well.
So you want to hang out with the formerly incarcerated people, huh?
Oh, you know what?
That's what the Man Up.
You know what? I don't even see CCAP, and so I didn't even know y'all were incarcerated. And so, yeah, I do. I want to hang out with you.
Most people don't know you were incarcerated.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna bring that back up on the show, Aaron.
Okay. I just want the viewers to know that.
Y'all, I had a dream one day that I was incarcerated, and I told the group that, and they said we're gonna bring that back up when y'all come in. They said, "See, the Lord letting you see what it's like to be incarcerated." so that's my legitimacy that I had a dream that I went to the joint. Man, that scared me. Yeah, that's another thing that scares me: clowns and joints. And prison joints.
Right.
Y'all got some good questions. Y'all got some other questions?
I got one. And this question is strictly, do you remember when Mr. Dillard came to your church the very first time? And how did y'all build a rapport from that point on?
Wow.
I do remember when Mr. Dillard came to our church. Mr. Dillard, what year was that?
96.
96. It was before my daughter was born.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, because he and a group of guys started praying for me because my daughter was hospitalized for 3 months after her birth. So I remember he was there before that. But he came up, he walked up the hill and came into the church, and it was the first time I'd ever seen an ankle bracelet.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and I kept hearing a voice in my head say, do not look at this man's ankle. Do not look at this man's ankle. Because I felt like everybody's looked through him or at something. And so, but I was intrigued because that's why I have a podcast. I want to ask people questions, but I'd never seen one. And, but I also saw that he had a really good heart, that he was really sharp. And so I was trying to think, what is somebody like this doing, with an ankle bracelet on?
Yeah.
And so he started coming to a men's group on Sunday morning, men's Sunday school. We were having general Sunday school, but we broke out and started having a men's group. Yep. Then that morphed into a small group. And so he was assigned to a group that met at 6 a.m., I think on Thursdays, with some old school brothers, Bill and Tom and folks who got up early because they didn't have a life. And no, I'm kidding. Yeah, Bill, I'm kidding, but you got a life. But these guys got up and they hounded him. So I think getting community right away, it's really key, Aaron, because that interaction with him is what shaped what's become our reentry ministry. I guess that's why in our work we talk about practice-based evidence, because right now what's really big is evidence-based practices, but it doesn't really take our experience, as African-American people, into consideration.
That's right.
What we practiced became our evidence.
Yeah.
So because I saw what Mr. Dillard responded to, we kept doing it. And so then when the next person came, when Jackie came, when other folks came, we got to get them in a group. We got to get them a mentor. And the thing that folks like Jerome and others, and again, I would love to pick this back up. Please bring this back up when we have a reunion. But people like Mr. Dillard and Terry kept saying, I need a place to be normalized. I'm like, what do they mean by normalized? And they said, well, I just see men going to church with their children, men grocery shopping, people washing their cars, stuff that I just took for granted. They made it sound like it was university, graduate level research. And so that was easy to do. And so just putting them in relationships with folks just brought about a support system. Yeah. And I really think what we've done together and even separately in terms of reentry, what you do at Expo, what you did with VBB, what you did at Nehemiah, what you did at Mom, what we're doing, all grew out of our own experiences.
Wow.
There was no legislation.
You're
There was no new Jim Crow.
That's right.
There was no, what's the guy's name in Michigan, Mark Maurer, race to incarcerate.
Right.
That stuff wasn't out. We were creating the relationships and the interaction that I think others would eventually write about. And they talked about the systemic reality.
Yeah.
We brought the relational
Yep.
reality.
Yep.
To, would you say that that's true, Mr.
Yes,
Dillard?
I would say it's absolutely true. Those men I met with for 2 years, and some mornings 6 o'clock, and don't mess with me, but they come. They knock on the door. They ringing my phone, and
They were POs. You didn't have one.
yeah, that's right, that's right, and that was life changing for me because I needed to be around men who were just with married to with their wives, raising their kids,
Right.
and getting up, going to work every day.
Yeah.
That was not a norm for me. But them pouring into me just helped me grow.
Yeah.
And man, I just thank God for those days. Those Bible study days in the basement of Nehemiah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that just sounds
Wow.
powerful. One last thing. It's interesting that it's a trio here now because actually, Jerome, you handed me off to G. And I'm out. I mean, our birthday is exactly the same day, 10 years apart.
All right, you're 10 years older.
Not. But anyway.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
So for this legacy that you're leaving behind for the next generation, because of what happened between yourself and Jerome, how do you and you're in the latter part of your own life, life experiences, what legacy are you trying to leave behind for that next generation of people?
Man, y'all need podcast shows. Y'all are asking great questions. It's interesting. As you all listen to me talk, I'll always come back to leadership. I have this sense about leadership. Leadership spoke into my heart. My mom moving from Chicago to Madison was an act of leadership. I think leadership has embedded within it the sense of legacy, that you lead because you want to be part of something that outlives you. So I think your question is very astute because I use words like leadership, but I really am thinking about legacy. The legacy that I want to leave is understanding that what we do for others is not an act of mere or sheer altruism or pity. You have to really understand you're better when everyone else is at the table. At some point, I realized Jerome was going to have the church be better than what it was. When you think about the things that we're known for now, those are not the things we're known for. We're known for being a very young, hip, serious, charismatic, Black professional folks who met in college and created a church together. That's what we were known for. We were not known for reentry. We were not known for a place where folks were former prostitutes, drug addicts, pimps. That was the antithesis of who we were. We were people who had not become that because we were safe, protected, and we took our energies to school and not to the streets. Then you see this onslaught of people who have very different experiences, different outcomes, but similar pain. We'll talk about that when we bring the group together. But the pain was very similar, which meant we gelled around that fatherlessness, brokenness, abuse, poverty. So my legacy is that we realize that what we do is because we become better when we do it. It's not because we're pitying someone, but we become better, that it strengthens the whole. The other thing is I want faith to be relevant. I don't want church to be austere. I don't want it to be something just hidden behind people's perception of stuff that's old, drab, frightening. I want people to understand the sense of purpose and liberty that comes from the faith that I practice, my Christian faith. The other thing I want to leave for a legacy is I want to build people. I want to build people who can do what I can do. I used to think that leadership meant that I am such a leader that when I'm gone or we're out of town, everything just goes and stop. I thought that was a good sign of leadership. I want to be the kind of leader that can set up systems so that when I'm gone, others can step into that spot and into that place, because that's a true sign of leadership and legacy. Not that you can do it all, but that you can't do it all, but you will have the boldness, the confidence, the faith, and the necessity to find folks who with you can do it all and continue it. I want people to continue to bring people along. I love the fact that Jerome had these experiences, but then he creates VBB and interactions with you and helps me start Man Up to bring other men. And VBB was men and women, all racial backgrounds, faith, backgrounds. We're a little bit more focused with Man Up. Yeah. But to see people carrying that out, to see what he's doing today with Expo and what you're doing today with Nehemiah and Reentry, and you lead the Man Up group that I used to, Jerome used to cover for me when I couldn't do it. Yeah. And that was a group I led.
And I was a participant.
You were a participant with an ankle bracelet on up in there. And now you're leading that. When people are asking me, well, where can my son go? I'm like, okay, you need to talk to Aaron. Here's his email address, or he does this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I think my legacy is to show that folks who have been written off, I think in American society, people of faith, people with a conviction and a family background, African-American people from impoverished background, folks who don't fathers, that we can run stuff, that we can do stuff. And if we just remove some of the impediments, stop blocking what we're doing, we can turn stuff around. I want to also, my legacy is the solutions will come from the people who are most impacted by the solutions. Let's stop having people up in, Department of Corrections headquarters deciding what somebody needs and you 5 steps away from them. Right. Let's ask folks on paper. Let's ask folks on ankle bracelets. Let's ask folks who are about to be released, what do you need? What's helpful to you? And let's stop talking from folks. So I think I want to really validate the voice of folks who we think are victims. They're really reason. They're the voice of reason. And if we have enough sense to listen to their sense, we can get out of the way and give them room and space to create some real solutions. And so to me, everything's about leadership, but it's how you communicate, it's how you move a big agenda ahead with folks who help to remind you that it's bigger than you. Yeah. I think we have a leadership crisis in our country today. Everywhere I look, I think there's a leadership crisis. We need real leadership, but leadership is not getting out front, is not being the boldest, the loudest, the craziest. Yeah. It's about who can motivate people, who can see people, who can empower people, who can mobilize people to go out and do it, even if it's different from you. And that means you've got to trust the bigger picture and know it. So a visionary leader has got to be able to see the big picture, the big outcome, and to see the macro picture, but make the right micro decisions every day. And that's attention, because I like the camera. I like the stage. I like being in the forefront. I'm not shy of those things. But I realize if something happens to me before I fully wrung myself out on those around me, then I've missed. And so what I think what I know my passion is I want to spend fewer times in meetings and more time sitting around men and women who are really, really, really committed to being a change. It's, to use some New Testament scripture, Paul told Timothy, Paul's a major writer of the New Testament. He was a leader, and Timothy's one of his mentees. He said, commit this message to faithful folks who'll be faithful to it. So commit this faithful message to faithful people. What he's basically saying is find the folks who will do what you are doing and build them up. Yeah. That's a long answer, but I kind of got in my soapbox. We kind of went to church a little bit on that one.
That was good. Ain't nothing wrong. I'll give you an amen in there.
Come on. So y'all, what I really want to do? I want to have you back with some of the men who helped us start Man Up. So can we work that out?
We can.
The other thing is, because I don't know if we can do that in that group, we'll see. Because I want to just talk about what that meant to us to be a group. So like Jerome was a part of a Sunday school group and a small group, but I was not in Jerome's small group. I was in another group. But with Man Up, we were both in that group. But that group became a place where I could get some growth and some truth. I want to talk about what that community meant. And then I want to talk about with some of the men, like what you thought and felt when you transitioned off of being on extended supervision and what some of the struggles have been with that. Because I think the more we tell the stories of folks who are doing great work who have been in prison, the more people begin to think differently. Because you know what? It used to be a scar. You talk about it, everybody's got a cousin, a nephew, a son-in-law, a grandson, my beautician's nephew. Everyone's touched by someone who's And it's not just a black issue. Now, we know that it's disproportionately against us. But I'm just saying folks don't know what to do about mass incarceration. So listen, gentlemen, can I take the mic back for just a moment?
You sure can.
Listen, your interviewers today, my co-podcast hosts have been Aaron H. and Jerome D. And these men are great influencers in this work. But as you can tell, they're thought leaders, and they think brilliantly about issues of reentry, policy change, and how to make our society stronger for everybody. So thank you for being a part of Black Like Me. I continue to go and look at our statistics. Our listeners are growing. Seattle, you know what? Chicago and Minneapolis and Milwaukee have crept up ahead of you. So I'm going to need my Seattleite friends to do what you do. LA, you're kind of dipping too. New Jersey, I don't even know where the heck you all are. So listen. I know that people are listening down in sunny Florida, but y'all got to get off those beaches or take your smartphones with you because you're kind of dipping too. But Madison is blowing up. And so I appreciate that. But places around the world are continuing to download and listen. So please subscribe. We're on all the major podcast platforms. Tell your friends, share this. People that are trying to understand issues of race. They want to really look over someone's shoulder. They want to have a better understanding. We can help you. So this has been another great segment of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. Thank you for being a part of what we do and a part of the Black Like Me family. And you have a great day.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. You can find out more about Dr. Alex G's amazing work at www.alexg.com. Black Like Me is sponsored by the generosity of the Human Family Unity Foundation.